Okay, well, welcome everyone. My name is Athena Paquette-Cormier, and I'm past president of the League of Women Voters Torrance area. And I want to welcome you all to the Candidates Forum for City Council, District 1, 3, and 5. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization, encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League does not support or oppose any individual candidate or party. This particular league, our local league here, represents Torrance, Gardena, Lomita, Harbor City area, and Carson. So I want to welcome all of you to this evening's forum. I'm giving you the setup, and then I'll be introducing our moderator for the evening. I first of all want to thank Torrance City Cable for live streaming this and making it available to many more people. And also, kudos to our city clerk, Rebecca Poirier, who always makes arrangements for us to be able to use this space. So, to make things as smooth as possible and make sure that you get the most out of this, we have different roles being played by our volunteers around the room. So first we have Jackie and Camilla. They're sitting up front. And Jackie is the timer, and Camilla will be showing the time limit paddles. Okay? Let's see. Then we have the question gatherers. So unlike other forums, the League actually takes questions here on the spot from you guys. So there's white cards, index cards. You just have to write your question on the card. And those question gatherers are Tom and I don't know, who else is gathering cards? Okay, well, Tom. And the question sorters are over here at this table. It's Terry and Monica. And just to explain what question sorters are, because I know that's very different also. So we tend to rewrite things for legibility so that the moderator can actually read the question. We eliminate duplication. We try to maximize the variety of questions. So 20 questions about homelessness and 1 question about the airport, not so fun. So we try and spread out the questions. And then also we try to make sure that there's league neutrality. And I'll explain that in a little bit. So this is how we're going to manage today's proceedings, so everyone gets the most out of our candidates being here. If you want to pose a question, just raise your hand and you'll be brought a card. Please write it on the white card and write as clearly as you can. When you're done, raise your hand and we'll continue to look to collect questions as long as we have time for questions. So your questions should be about an issue or subject matter and not about personally attacking any individual or party. Questions will be organized so that as many questions as possible without duplicating will be asked. Your questions will be passed to the moderator, who will then put the question to the candidates. You will not be reading your question out loud to anybody, so please write clearly. And just as a note, the questions remain the property of the League of Women Voters. We don't turn back the cards. And to preserve the nonpartisan and collegial atmosphere of the forum, we have some ground rules, and I'll just go over those quickly. So please turn off your cell phones. Anything else that beeps, squawks, or plays your favorite tune, please just turn it off. And no photography or video recording, as this is a distraction to people around you, and we've made arrangements for city cable to record this. Now, I know you think everything your favorite side of this issue or candidate is saying is brilliant and want to affirm them. We do want to do that. But we also want to ask as many questions as possible. So please hold your applause till the very end. And no standing ovations, and especially no booing or hissing or other kinds of stuff. I wasn't here Tuesday, but I heard. Okay, so the campaign material is not to be passed out inside the room. Everything is outside the room, and at the end, you will have a chance to meet and greet the candidates. The candidates will not refer to each other by name, but speak in the first person, and again, no personal attacks will be allowed. We want to hear what the candidates think they will do in office, not what they think of each other. So no talking over each other as candidates, and everyone will get their turn, and that includes the audience. Please, we're trying for civility, so please don't interject your opinions into the conversation. So all candidates have signed an agreement and have let their teams know that these are the rules, and they agree by the League of Women Voters rules. So, because moderators are to be neutral, someone eligible to vote for these seats is not eligible to be a moderator. So a lot of you have seen me as moderator. I am living in Torrance, and so I can vote, so I will not be moderating. And therefore, we're super excited to have Nancy Marr, who's past president of the League of Women Voters Palos Verdes, past president of the County League, and a state league official. So she will be moderating, and now we'll explain not the rules, we'll explain the format of tonight. So thank you, enjoy, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Okay, super. I want to begin by saying that I am on the final stages of a little cold. So if I start coughing, please don't be alarmed. I have been tested. I'm negative. So this is just a little cold. And I'll turn my back and cough at the window. Anyway, thank you for participating tonight, both the candidates and the audience. I want to review the forum the forum timing. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to present opening remarks. Then we will take written questions from the audience. All candidates may respond to every question. That may take a few minutes to go down the row here. And then each candidate will have up to 1 minute for that response. And you will have 2 minutes for closing remarks. So let us meet our candidates here. I have arranged them alphabetically within districts. So the first 4 people are District 1, then we have District 3, then we have District 5. So first person, Jimmy Gao. Second person, David Kartsonis. Whoops. What order are you in? But he is supposed, oh, I see. This alphabet, yes. You're alphabetically correct, but my list is not alphabetically correct. So Jon Kaji, oh my goodness. You know, I would like to ask you two to change places. Well.
Just them or everyone?
Just, I'm sorry. Just David and Jon. I'm sorry I didn't notice the incorrect alphabetical. Well, the problem is that I have a layout here that is harder to change. But you guys are very flexible. Thank you so much. And finally, Dave Zygielbaum. Yay. For District 3, Lauren Cotner. Well, Cotner does come before Sheikh, so, and Assam Sheikh. And finally, District 5, Jean Adelsman and Aurelio Matucci. Okay. They did switch. Oh, no, them, no. Can't do that. So, at this point, we'll begin with the first question. We'll begin with opening statements. And the opening statements, we're going to begin with Jimmy, and we will end with Aurelio. And when you come to closing statements, I will reverse that order. So, Jimmy, 2 minutes.
First, let's thank the Torrance Area League of Women Voters for hosting and all of you for being here today. I'm Jimmy Gow, and my roots in Torrance go back to when my grandparents moved here in 1941. They helped start the YMCA, Little League, and Torrance Unified School District. I was born in the original Torrance Memorial Hospital, swam on the El Camino College swim team, and my first job was as a lifeguard at Vanderpool Swim School, the business my grandparents built and ran in Torrance for 20 years. Growing up, I learned the importance of community, and our family will never forget the outpouring of sympathy in 1994 when my uncle, Sergeant Tom Vanderpool, and his captain, Mike Tracy, were killed in the line of duty. So I'm committed to giving back to this city that has meant so much to me and my family. I'm a retired educator involved in groups like the North Torrance Neighborhood Association, the League of Women Voters, Friends of the Madrona Marsh, and the Torrance Historical Society. I served on both the ExxonMobil Community Advisory Panel, and I'm a founding member of the Torrance Refinery Action Alliance. Under my leadership as the first three-term chair of the Social Services Commission, we created the framework for the city's homelessness plan. As a result, Torrance now has a dedicated professional homelessness outreach coordinator. My service to the community is why I'm endorsed by Mayor Pat Fury, former school board president Terry Reagans, former council member George Nakano, and my friend Mr. Sahara, who supports me because he knows that I honor the contributions of our Asian American community and stand with them against the hate crimes that have taken place right here in Torrance. I'm running to make Torrance a better place for our children and grandkids. Let's make Torrance the place to live, work, play, and visit with Jimmy Gow for Torrance in District 1. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now, thank you for changing places, David.
Thank you. I'm David Kartsonis, and our city is at a crossroads. Crimes of opportunity, like catalytic converter thefts and porch thefts, are affecting our neighborhoods. Our district attorney's office refuses to prosecute even violent crimes and is actively fighting with cities to prevent them from prosecuting crimes. The city has been overspending, and now is the time to act to save our city and the services that we all appreciate. Real, experienced, unbeholden leadership with a proven track record is what I bring as a candidate. Actions, not words. My road to city council was not abrupt or opportunistic, despite being the young candidate up here. Many of you have already known me through my decades-long Torrance-focused volunteer efforts that have allowed me to learn from the inside out how the city works and to affect real change. I don't represent one group, and I'm not beholden to a political agenda, save for the safety, prosperity, and preservation of Torrance. That's why I have over 50 bipartisan endorsements from locally elected and appointed officials. I'm the only candidate in my race not supported by special interests or developers. I'm a City of Torrance Planning Commissioner, a longtime North Torrance resident, and a homeowner, a volunteer AYSO coach, a North Torrance Neighborhood Association member, and a Torrance small business owner. I've served as board member and president of the El Camino College Foundation for 10 years, City of Torrance Parks and Recreation Commissioner, technology chair for the Torrance Area Chamber of Commerce, El Camino College Bond Oversight Committee member. I currently serve on TOCA, the Torrance Cultural Arts Foundation, and the Torrance Refinery Citizens Advisory Panel. And could I just add that all this is a dedication to the community. None of these organizations were political in nature, and my involvement in all of them was as a volunteer. I'm a strong supporter of education in our community, having served on the board and as president of the El Camino College Foundation for 10 years. I also worked for Torrance Education Foundation and the Torrance Unified School District. While president of the El Camino College Foundation, we doubled the private funding to the college. Funded and helped create the South Bay Promise, ensuring all students in our region had access, and we helped start the Warrior Pantry and Veterans Warrior Pantry. I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you. Move to Jon.
Good evening. My name is Jon Kaji, and I'm running in District 1. The voters of District 1 should base their vote on the track record of the candidate, not on promises. My family has lived in the South Bay for more than 100 years. My father, Bruce Kaji, brought an unknown Japanese company called Toyota Motor Sales to Torrance. As a director of the State of California Office of Trade and Investment, I brought more than $1.9 billion in direct investment and trade deals to California, creating thousands of high-paying jobs. This included the Torrance Panasonic DVD plant with more than 400 jobs. As a private investor, I purchased 3 commercial retail properties in North Torrance. This included the property formerly tenanted by Lucky's Supermarket and the mobile gas station. The Lucky's building was empty, stripped of all wiring and copper. The gas station site was contaminated by leaky fuel tanks. I rolled up my sleeves and got to work, renovating the supermarket and putting in space for 99 cents only store, cleaned up the gas station corner, and built a new retail building. The results? New jobs, new sales tax revenue, and a successful renovation for North Torrance. I will take a similar approach to District 1. As your councilman, I will demand an itemized budget from each city department, detailing just how much money is allocated for North Torrance. As I've spoken to hundreds of residents, our streets, sidewalks, and curbs are in dire need of upgrades. I have listened, and I am ready to act on June 8th. I look forward to answering your questions today. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Dave Z.
Hi, I'm Dave Zygielbaum. I'm running for City Council to represent North Torrance. I want to improve public safety, and I really want to strengthen our neighborhood. During the day, I'm a deputy district attorney. I've been doing that for 15 years. I prosecute child homicide. Every complex child murder that happens in the southern half of LA County is what I handle. And other than that, I'm a husband, I'm a dad, I'm a neighbor. And what I want to do on City Council is to listen. And the reason I decided to run for City Council was my house got broken into. My wife, my 2 little girls were inside. Noon on a Monday, my wife was nursing my 3-month-old on the couch. It was scary, and we updated our security, but then we started a neighborhood watch to really look out for our neighbors and really listen to our neighbors. That's the mentality I want to bring to City Council, is to listen and to really work. I've knocked on over 1,000 doors at this point. I've talked to lots and lots of people in North Torrance. And what they're concerned about is, one, public safety. They're concerned about being safe in their home, being safe in their schools, being safe in their parks, being safe in their businesses. I believe in public safety. I've dedicated my life to it. That's why I've been endorsed by the Torrance Police Officers Association and the Torrance Firefighters Association. But they're also concerned about homelessness. They're concerned about what we're going to do. And we need to create a regional response because it's a regional problem. Torrance can be a leader in doing that. I will work as a council member to make Torrance a leader in creating a regional plan for homelessness that provides compassionate solutions. Also, we'll work on North Torrance's infrastructure. North Torrance has been overlooked forever. We are literally the other side of the tracks. And that's how people feel up there. They need an advocate. That's what I do every day. I do it at a high level, and I do it against people who are paid to fight me. And I have to listen to them with respect, treat them honestly, and find common ground where I can. I also believe in supporting business, in supporting our community and our working families. I want to increase our economic growth. We've got one person working on economic development in this city of 150,000 people with a budget of $230 million. It's time to stretch that. It's time to improve that and really bring people here. Thank you. I look forward to talking with you.
Thank you. And Lauren.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Hi, thank you so much for being here tonight. It means a lot that you're all here and that many of you are paying attention to what's happening to Torrance. The future of Torrance depends on all of you and us. Let me ask you, do you still feel safe in Torrance? I'm sure that you notice the city is not as pristine as it used to be, and I'm sure that you're keenly aware that the city has a spending problem. I'm worried about Torrance, the future of Torrance. That's why I'm running for City Council, these and many other reasons. I'm running for District 3. I am not one to sit around and complain, so I wanted to be a part of the solution, so I threw my hat in. Never knew what I was getting into, but a little about me. I'm a 4th-generation Californian. I grew up in Redondo Beach, right along the border of South Torrance. We moved to Torrance, which would be now District 5, when I was 13. I graduated from South High School in 1978, so you know how old I am. Do the math. I worked in various jobs until about 24 years ago when I embarked on my small real estate business while raising 2 children, both of whom graduated from South High School. I moved to District 3 in October 2019. My priorities are clear: safe, clean, and balanced. A safe Torrance is first because that's why we moved to Torrance. It's because we want to be safe in our homes. It used to be safe. The police patrolled our streets, and I knew and they knew a lot of the residents. I want that back. My wish is that Torrance gets back to the days when criminals didn't come here. They skipped us. We need to send that message again. Criminals, you're not welcome here. I'm Lauren Cotner. I'm running for District 3 City Council, and I'm second on the ballot, but your first choice. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, and now Assam.
Good evening. First of all, I want to thank the League of Women Voters Association organizing this event. I also like to thank every single one of us being here. Thank you so much. My name is Asam Sheikh, and I'm running for Torrance City Council, District 3, the Central District, the heart of Torrance. I have proven experience working with city staff, working with nonprofit organizations, working with Torrance Unified School District, and working at American Honda Motor Company. I worked with American Honda for 24 plus years. Currently, I'm working as a senior financial analyst at American Honda, where I analyze, collect, and question the management about the budget spending. And I do not do that on quarterly or yearly basis. I do that on monthly basis. I make sure they are on check every month. Prior to this position, I was an auditor with the company, where I audited hundreds of dealers nationwide. I am blessed to live and work in the city of Torrance for many years. Because of this, I involved myself with the community services. I've been the library commissioner. I've been the civil service commissioner. I have been the vice chair to the civil service commissioner. I'm a vice chair to the Independent Citizens Oversight Committee at the Torrance Unified School District. And also currently with an honor and privilege that I am serving in the Planning Commission as a chairman to the Planning Commission. Because of my community services, because of my involvement, I have been endorsed by so many leaders, activists. I've been endorsed by the congressional district representative. I have been endorsed by the state representative. I have been endorsed by the city council and 40 plus commissioners in the city of Torrance. I am truly humbled and thankful for every single one who endorsed me, and most of them are here as well. It is truly an honor to serve you. Please vote for me on June 7, and please engage with me any question that you have. Thank you for your time.
Okay, and now we move to Jean.
Hello, I'm Jean Adelsman, and I'm running to represent District 5. 35 years ago, I bought my forever home here. I love Torrance, and District 5 is a paradise. Running for office was never on my to-do list, but I have always felt compelled to step up when I see a major problem, and I see one now. Torrance is in crisis. At the worst of the last recession, we had $50 million in reserves. But for several years, city council members have used the reserve fund to cover budget shortages. Now our reserves are in such bad shape that we are number 4 on California's watch list of cities in danger of going bankrupt. That's right, only 3 cities are worse financially. Regularly dipping into reserves is not the way to run a city, and making across-the-board cuts like the council did for this fiscal year also isn't the answer. As a council member, I will work to completely overhaul the budget, go back to square one, look at every city, agency, and program, and analyze the level of expenditure and the value of the service. It's exactly what you and I would do if we were spending more than we brought in. I have a deep knowledge of this community that goes back 3 decades. I have headed 2 major local boards. Currently, I serve as vice chair of the city's Civil Service Commission. Visit my website, jeanadelsman.com. You'll see my endorsement list. Includes leading Republican and Democrat from Torrance. Both support my campaign because they know I'm committed to keeping partisan politics out of our city government. I have a history of building consensus out of contentiousness, and am asking for your vote. I will be proud to be the first council member to represent District 5. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, Aurelio.
Thank you. Happy Cinco de Mayo, guys. You guys aren't partying. You guys are here until 9 o'clock. Sorry. My name is Aurelio Matucci. I currently serve on the Torrance City Council. Moved to Torrance in 1977. I was 6 years old, attended Seaside Elementary School, but enough of that. I want you guys to know some of the accomplishments. I think it's very important to know that your council member is actually doing something and not just warming up those, beautiful black leather seats. I proposed and got voted in unanimously the first ever homeless plan. Okay, now why is that important? Because safety is important. It's important to me, and I'm sure it's important to you. Now, what's important about that safety issue here in Torrance? It's that it's a regional problem, but I know a lot of times we talk about a regional approach. Guess what? We looked into that. The COG, Blue Ribbon Commission, they all looked into it and said, we're not interested at this point. Doesn't mean that in the future we can't do it. But we took, as a city, a leading role in taking care of one of the biggest issues that are facing the LA region. Our plan is going to work. On June 26th, we are going to start implementing and enforcing the anti-camping ordinance. That's how we clean up the streets in Torrance, with enforcement. I call it compassionate enforcement, but bottom line is the police is going to have to do their job. We cut hundreds of positions, but we didn't send anybody home. How do we do that? We balance the budget by keeping some vacancies. Guess what? Some of our biggest portion of our budget is labor. So when we say, well, I'm going to, cut other things. Well, what is there to cut? Labor is your biggest expense. But we're still able to take care of the basic services of Torrance. We're still a safe city. We're still relatively clean, but we are in desperate need of making sure that Torrance stays clean and safe for the future. Thank you.
Thank you all. And now we'll move to questions. And the first question, we're going to begin the questions, responses with David. I'm going to rotate, David K. We're going to rotate down the line so everybody gets a chance to answer first. What do you consider the biggest problem in your district, and how can that problem be solved? 1 minute.
The biggest problem in every district, and North Torrance District 1 is no different, is the city's budget, the economy. It was said before, and I've been saying it the entire campaign, the city is in a disastrous situation financially. We are ranked fourth on the list of cities that have a high potential for bankruptcy. And municipal bankruptcy is not a pretty thing. It's not something that we want as residents to see, and it's something that absolutely needs to be prevented. So the city council the next city council will need to make it their number one priority to balance our budget, to make sure we regrow our reserves, which at this point we're down to the weeks of operating reserves left. So we need to rebuild our reserves. We need to make sure that we have enough money to ensure the services that we have all become accustomed to.
Thank you. And now John.
If any of you visit North Torrance, pay attention to the city streets. The lack of infrastructure investment in North Torrance is a tragedy. As I've talked to various residents, what I've told them is, look, if I'm elected as council member, my first focus is to look at streets like 182nd Street, which have not been repaved for many years. I think the entire street must be replaced because of all the traffic impacts from the San Diego Freeway, traffic back and forth, North Torrance bears the brunt of traffic impacts. And unless North Torrance receives not just its fair share, but even more than the other parts of Torrance, we will continue to deteriorate, and that will continue to have an impact on the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Dave Z.
Thank you. The biggest issue in North Torrance is the quality of life, and there's multiple facets to that. One is the city's budget and how it affects our ability to behave in North Torrance and to pay for North Torrance. Like I said, we are literally the other side of the tracks. So the streets are bad, sidewalks are bad, infrastructure is bad, and everybody feels like they have a well-deserved chip on their shoulder. They feel like the stepchild who's not taken care of. They need an advocate. I am an advocate. One of the ways to solve it is by listening to people and really working for people. It also goes into public safety. There are some people that feel less safe. They've noticed increased crime in the neighborhood, so we can improve that with Neighborhood Watch. We can improve that with the Community Emergency Response Team, which I'm a member of. And we can also improve our economic growth in the city to provide services for North Torrance. Like I said before, we need to improve our economic development. We can't keep cutting. At a certain point, if you keep cutting a body, the body will die. You have to let it grow. Let's let Torrance grow. Let's let today be the foundation. What we have now can be the foundation for the city of the future. Thank you.
Okay, Lauren.
Excuse me. Hi. In District 3, I have actually part of North Torrance in our district, and while I've been out meeting with people, they have said their biggest concern actually is safety. Their cars are getting broken into. There's homeless knocking on their windows. They're breaking into their cars. They're scared. And when they call the police can't do anything. So to me, that's not acceptable, and that's the reason why I'm running for city council. Also, if you drive through our cities, as a lot of you do, but the infrastructure, the potholes in the streets, the trash that's left around, we have a lot of illegal dumping and shopping carts being left around. So a lot of people just really want to have a voice and to be heard and to actually have somebody that's going to do something. And I made a promise that I will be meeting with the district once a month besides city council meetings. Thank you.
Okay, Assam.
Thank you for the question. Earlier, I called the District 3 as the central district, the heart of the district. This district is bringing the money all over to the Torrance budget. We have Hawthorne dealership, we have Promenade Mall, we have so many things in there. However, the characteristics of the entire city of Torrance is not the same. It's obvious when you go in the north and the central part of the Torrance, the infrastructure, the streets, the roads are not the same. It's important for us to have equal characteristics of the city of Torrance, including the central district. It's important for us to understand the homelessness in Columbia Park in those areas are also increasing. These are the issues. The solution is that I want to thank our city council that they came up with the anti-camping ordinance. That is one step to take the homelessness out of the thing. The second thing is that I will work with economic development and community development department to make sure our infrastructure is built properly. Thank you.
Okay, Jean.
I said earlier that District 5 is a piece of paradise, and the hillside overlay is an important piece of keeping it a piece of paradise. When it's no longer important enough to support the hillside overlay, now we must defend it. We don't want to see these hard-won protections taken away by a lack of enforcement or vague language that frustrates everyone. I have appeared at planning commission sessions and city council meetings to defend the hillside overlay. I've worked too hard to see us lose it. As a council member, I will vote to strengthen these protections.
Thank you, Aurelio.
Thank you. I think District 5 has the same issues as pretty much the rest of the city. In regards to the overlay, I think it's great that it's there, but it's really irrelevant when it comes to Sacramento. When you look at SB 9, SB 50 that was proposed, SB 35 that passed. When you look at all these assembly bills and Senate bills from California that are destroying our once beautiful neighborhoods. Now, you may not see it yet, but the permits, don't worry, their permits are coming in. Other issue, public safety, homeless. Trust me, the Riviera, Seaside, we're not immune to it. We're not immune. The same issues that exist everywhere else will start creeping into our neighborhoods. Now, when I say our neighborhoods, I'm talking about all of Torrance, okay? Not just District 5. When we are up here, we make decisions for all of Torrance. And I vow to you that I'm going to sit here and protect Torrance as a whole, no matter whether I work for District 5 or District 6 or 4 or 3 or 2 or 1. All of Torrance is important, and that's how we're going to operate.
Thank you, and we'll finish up with Jimmy.
Thank you. You know, back when I ran in 2018, I would say that the biggest challenge facing our city is the one we don't know about yet. So whether it's something like the cyber attack on the city or a global pandemic that affects everything in the city, it's things that we don't know about is the biggest challenge. One of the things that happened in 2018 was that our city was made to go to district elections. So I used that as an opportunity to demonstrate my leadership skills and problem-solving skills, and I created the final approved city council district map, which ended up saving our city millions of dollars. Now, in North Torrance, we have a lot of issues that, as I talk to the people in the city, they are in North Torrance District 1, they say they're tired of being ignored. And so I want to make sure that I listen to them and get the stuff done in District 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move to the second question, and John, you're going to begin the responses on this question. What is your stand on the all-year coyote trapping?
Thank you. I applaud the position taken by the City Council on implementing all-year coyote trapping. I think it's done, it's had an effect on ensuring that the population doesn't grow out of control. And I think the protection of our household pets and also our children comes foremost. So I would continue to support that. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move to Dave Z.
Thank you. I think it's important that we're maintaining the coyote population, but I also think it's important that we're educating people about how to deal with the coyote population. I'm in favor of supporting my children. I've got an almost 4-year-old and almost 2-year-old, and I've got a baby boy coming on July 8th. And I'm a supporter of senior citizens. On the street that I live, in the 20 houses that are on my street, I've got 4 or 5 senior citizens that live by themselves. Almost all of us have dogs. I've got a 14-year-old Boston Pug Terrier mix, slowly turning into a floor pillow because she's old, but I'm still afraid of coyotes and seeing them. But I also walk with a stick. I know how to be around coyotes, and I'm educating my neighbors around them. I'm teaching my 2 little girls about how to scare them away or to deal with them in our community. So we have to be wise with how we're spending our money. So if we're at a point where we're spending too much money on coyote trapping, then we've got to look at whether or not it's worthwhile. Right? Because we're a city in a financial crisis. Every dollar counts. And like I said before, we can't keep cutting. We've got to raise revenue. So if we want to maintain things like all-year coyote trapping, we better have the money for it.
Hey, Lauren?
Hi. I am totally for the year-round trapping. Coyotes aren't seasonal. They are there all year round. California is a desert. They are looking for food. And part of my priority is safety. I've said that from the beginning, is keeping you safe as citizens of Torrance. And that's year-round trapping. I want my dog safe. I want my cat safe. I want the kids safe. There are many coyotes still in the neighborhood. So the trapping is working, but I think we just need to keep doing it year-round. I'm for it.
Assam?
Thank you. Coyote is a regional, complex issue. For any regional complex issue, I always do two things. Number one, I reach out to the experts, what experts say. Tracy Drake, the manager for Madrona Marsh. Kirk, Dave Dodge, all those experts, wildlife, they have said that coyotes are an issue and it's not easy to solve. What they're basically referring is we need to educate ourselves. The second thing I will approach is the data. Look at the data, what data says. I really, really thank our city staff doing a great job. In 2019, they came up with a plan, coyote management plan. It's going to cost us $15,000 a month. Fast forward, in 2020, they came up with $4,000 a month. I think it's a great approach. They started, and now they're coming with a solution with $50,000 a year. And I think it's well worth it. However, please educate the neighbors how to deal with this situation. Thank you.
Jean?
I sympathize with pet owners and their concern about losing a pet to coyotes in the neighborhood. But we also need to educate and promote best practices for interfacing with our wild animal populations. I would support abatement measures such as keeping trash cans secure and discouraging leaving food for animals outdoors. Keeping pets indoors is also recommended as the best option for keeping smaller pets safe. Right now, the approach the city has taken is not only expensive, but ineffective. They aren't allowed to put traps where they would capture the coyotes that are killing our pets. And coyotes aren't aware of city boundaries, so I would encourage a more regional approach.
Thank you. Aurelio?
Thank you. I'm actually the one that brought that item to the table back in September 2018. I pushed with a little group of 250 residents called Evict Coyotes. I came up with that name. Pretty clever, huh? Well, that group actually came in and advocated for change. The plan of 2016 was doing absolutely nothing. So if you think of the coyote issues as a public safety issue, then the $4,000 a month doesn't seem like much, does it? I say the same thing that I said back in 2018. Matucci in, coyotes out. Thank you.
Jimmy?
Currently, trapping has yielded little results and at great cost, thousands of dollars per animal killed. While the original coyote management plan was well studied, experts in the field were consulted, and trapping was not seen as a sustainable long-term solution. Coyotes know nothing of city boundaries. This is a regional issue, and Torrance can't just chase the coyotes away to other cities. We need policies that respect wildlife populations in and around our urban areas. Coyote populations are a self-regulating ecosystem, and the removal of one coyote generally does nothing more than create a vacuum that is then occupied by another coyote or sets off a population explosion. Additionally, pets can be unattended victims of traps for coyotes. I don't want to see another pet taken by coyotes, so I support using abatement practices and educating people about keeping their garbage secure and their pets indoors. I am looking into this issue further, and I am open to exploring coyote management techniques. Thank you.
Okay, David Kay.
Thank you. Thank you. I am a former City of Torrance Parks and Recreation Commissioner, so I have a lot of experience with our city's interaction with local wildlife. Spoke with Tracy Drake as well. I am aware that we're not allowed to trap in some of the areas where trapping may actually make the most sense. I am a supporter in potentially reevaluating how we are spending those dollars. I have talked to thousands of residents over the course of my campaign, and I can tell you in District 1, I can count on one hand how many people have brought up coyotes as a major concern for them. Our budget, as I've said multiple times, is so bad in this situation that you need to ask yourself the best way to handle this issues. How many police officers are we willing to fire so that we can keep this coyote plan in place? How many fire trucks are we willing to get rid of so we can keep this coyote plan in place? We are in dire situations right now, and we need to find the best solution. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to our next question, and David Z. will begin that question. Have you served on any city boards, commissions, or panels, and how long have you served?
Yes, I have. I'm a City of Torrance Airport Commissioner. I've been on it for almost 4 years. My term ends on June 30th of this year, so I'll be reapplying for other commissions. However, I also am a Deputy District Attorney. I've been doing that for 15 years. I have focused on special victim crimes. Like I said before, I prosecute child homicide now. And I'm a member of several boards as a part of that, including the Suspected Child Abuse and Neglect Committees that are through Miller's Children's Hospital, also Harbor UCLA, and also the Interagency Child Abuse Network, Notification Network. And I also am a volunteer teacher through Project LEAD, through the DA's office. Every Thursday, I teach both fifth grade classes at Carr Elementary. I teach them civics, responsibility, criminal justice, and it's a continuation of a program that I ran when I was in law school at Nebraska. I grew up in Southern California. My family's been here. My kids are sixth generation, but I left for law school and I came back. And there I ran a program called the Community Legal Education Project. So I've been volunteer teaching for now almost 18 years at various schools in similar curriculum where we have kids do a trial and really learn about how to be good citizens. Thank you.
Okay, Lauren.
Hi. No, I have not been on any commissions. No, I have not been on any political things at all. This is my first time running. I told you why I'm running, and it's new to me. But I do volunteer a lot. I have volunteered for food banks. I volunteer at a little company in Mary in a program called NODA, No One Dies Alone. It's one of the best programs, I think, out there. And I just got asked to be on the advisory board, like David, sorry, we're not supposed to use other names, for the Torrance refinery, which I think will be really beneficial to keep that communication going with the surrounding residents. So, no.
Okay, Assam.
Thank you. I think that's probably one of the most important questions for me. I think as a community leader, you need to serve on different community programs, community commissions, community boards. And I'm honored and privileged and thankful to our city council who appointed me first in the Library Commission. Then I became a member for the Civil Service Commissioner. Then I became vice chair to the Civil Service Commission. And currently I'm serving in the Planning Commission, first as a member, and then currently I'm a chairman to the Planning Commission. In addition to that, I'm also vice chair to the Independent Citizens Oversight Committee at the Torrance Unified School Districts. I do not only include myself, I tell my children, they have to participate. This is an important thing. If you love anything, if you love your city, you have to get engaged. And I'm proud to say that my daughter is a president of political club at the El Camino College. She has been involved, and I'm telling all my children to get involved. It is important, and please get involved. I will request all of you to get involved as well. Thank you.
Okay. Jane.
I'm currently the vice chair of the Torrance Civil Service Commission. I've been on that commission for 3 years. I am a former president of the Torrance Cultural Arts Foundation, which is a separate organization from the city of Torrance. We're freestanding, but we were created because the city council wanted a nonprofit to run the Armstrong Theater so that they didn't have financial issues. I've also served on the Blue Ribbon Committee for Ethics and Integrity that was created when Frank Scotto was our mayor, and he saw things that were happening, and as a consequence, our committee came up with a lot of good proposals that the council adopted, and one of them is that none of you can donate more than $1,000 individually to any of us. Just wanted you to be aware of that. Thank you.
But you can't.
Aurelio.
Thank you. I served on one of the scariest boards in 2015, the Torrance Roast Float Association. That was actually, no, it was a good time. I did that for a year, I then graduated to the Social Services Commission, which I was one of the founding members of that. Pretty exciting, 2.5 years. And the reason I didn't complete the 4-year term is because I got elected on your city council. But for several years, I've been vice president of the board for New Challenge Ministries. And if you don't know who New Challenge Ministries is, it's one of the largest food banks here in the South Bay. So I have a little bit of experience working with homeless individuals. And trust me, we need more than just sandwiches and soap bars. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jimmy?
There we go. Back in 2013, I was appointed to the Cable Television Advisory Board. That was back when Frank Scotto was mayor. After that, I was one of the original founding members of the Torrance Social Services Commission, which was newly created in 2016. And I was elected by my colleagues as the first 3-term chair of that Social Services Commission. Other organizations, as I mentioned, the North Torrance Neighborhood Association, League of Women Voters, Friends of the Madrona Marsh, and the Torrance Historical Society.
Okay, David Kay.
Thank you. This is a fantastic question and a very important question. Talk is cheap. Getting to know your city is really the most important thing that a resident can do. I've told a lot of people who I've talked to on the campaign trail that the city council is not the only way to make a difference in your community. There are several ways to make a difference, and if you care about your community and you see issues in your community, fix them, even if you're not on city council. So ask your candidates what they have already done for the city. I am a City of Torrance Planning Commissioner. It's one of the reasons I'm running for city council is the issues that I see and how important it is to protect our neighborhoods. I was a Parks and Recreation Commissioner for the City of Torrance before that. Another reason I'm running for city council. I ran into several issues with our parks and the city council did not prioritize them in the budget. That's important to me. I was on the El Camino College Foundation. I represented taxpayers at the El Camino College Bond Oversight Committee. We made sure all $700 million of your property taxes were spent appropriately. That's all for me.
Okay, and John.
Thank you. Locally here in Torrance, I've served in the past on the Torrance South Bay Family YMCA Board, but most of my activity has been outside of the city of Torrance. I've served as a member of the Los Angeles County Economic Development Commission when we attempted to keep Nissan here in the South Bay. I was a special advisor to Governor Schwarzenegger in the state's attempt to keep the Toyota NUMMI manufacturing facility operating in Fremont, California, and that's now the home of Tesla Motors. For the state of California, I served as a commissioner or a member for the Commission for Economic Development. I also served in the Bush administration as a member of the President's Export Council. So while my time in serving in these different advisory positions hasn't been Torrance specific, I've been happy to serve the residents and citizens of the state of California and the United States. And lastly, as director of the State of California Office of Trade and Investment in Tokyo, Japan, I represented the state's interest in Japan, then our second largest partner in the world. Thank you.
Okay, for the next question, Lauren is going to begin. The proposed budget for 2022-23 eliminates 44 full-time employees from the police department. How will you ensure these cuts to public safety do not impact services to Torrance?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? That your microphone is muffled.
It is not on?
It's just, no, it's muffled. There's something, I literally could not hear everything.
So you couldn't hear the question. Is that better? Okay. The proposed budget for 2022-23 eliminates 44 full-time employees from the police department. How will you ensure these cuts to public safety do not impact services to Torrance?
Thank you for the question. That is actually a really good question, and I've thought about it a long time because actually, we have a lot of people in the police department that are not working. They're riding out their time. There are some people that are on administrative leave. And I don't know how the rules work, but I'd like to see them get back on the desk, cold case murder of Laura Lazinski that was murdered in 1980, and get it solved. I went to high school with her. She was a good friend of mine, and I want it resolved. So let's get them back on the desk, put the people that are in the office on the patrol, enforce the anti-camping ordinance, because 70% of our calls are to the homeless. And guess what? That'll get the patrols back on the street.
Thank you. Now, Assam.
Thank you. I think it's very alarming. I moved to the city of Torrance because of the public safety. When I heard that 44 sworn police officers will not have the job, it is alarming, and I'm really, really concerned. That's why my focus will be to work closely with the Economic Development Department. We need to focus on bringing revenue so we have more jobs. We need to have police officers. We need to make sure that they are given what they need, the tools they need. It is important for us to have more police officers. 44 reduction is not on the table. It should not be on the table. We need to work together to bring more revenue, to have police officers. However, not every single person is fit to become a police officer. I've been telling that. We need to vet them. We need to train them. We make sure we bring quality police officers, and I am not happy with that, but I will focus on bringing revenue, working closely with the Economic Development Department. That will be my focus. Okay. Thank you.
Jane?
If the council Tuesday night approves a budget that would mean we would be minus 44 officers, shame on them. Shame on them. If I'm elected, the first thing that I will be doing is to see how we will recraft the budget in process and get those positions back. We want a safer Torrance, and we are at the same time cutting officer positions. Shame on the council if it does that.
Thank you. Aurelio?
Thank you. That's actually an excellent question, but I'm going to tell you one thing. If Tuesday night we cut 44 officers, you know how many less officers we're going to have on the streets? 0. 0 officers will be eliminated. You know why? Because those jobs are vacant or running time. So, yeah, it would be a shame to cut it off the budget, but the response times, the amount of patrols is not going to change one bit. Get that through your heads. Remember that. 0. We have to make cuts to balance the budget because we have so much money coming in and so much money has to go out. That is a conservative approach to running a city. That's how you balance the budget. But not one less officer will be off the streets. Not one officer will be off the streets. We will be at full force that we have today. Nothing's going to change.
Thank you. Jimmy?
You know, the current situation in the city is kind of unique. In one survey of the best cities to live in California, Torrance is in the top 5 and is number 23 in America of the best cities to live. But on a rating list of rating the financial health of California cities based on reserves, we're in the bottom 5. As part of dealing with our budget, we need to create new revenue streams and keep our money in Torrance. I've met with our city staff, and they're great. They're closely tracking multiple areas in the budget that will require attention, including our general fund, operating fund, and a lot of other areas. And they're already working to close the gaps between our revenues and our expenditures, as evidenced by the 2 recent budget overview sessions presented at City Council meetings and the upcoming scheduled public hearings. Much of what a new council can do will depend upon what the current council leaves us with. And I'm committed to making tough choices that will stabilize our city's financial situation. Thank you.
Okay, David Kay.
These cuts are not appropriate. Across-the-board cuts are not the solution. I wouldn't use them in my own family budget. The budget being presented right now, let me just break it down for you, is 7 crossing guards, removing a police captain, removing 2 police lieutenants, removing 36 police officers, 1 records technician, and 6 sergeants. How do you feel about that? I don't feel very good about that. I actually think we'd be better off hiring more officers. Currently, we have detectives serving as crossing guards and on patrol. Yes, that reduces the number of employees on our city budget, but it also decreases our ability to fight crimes, and it actually increases the amount that we pay in overtime. It's not healthy for our officers to be working unreasonable hours, and it's not healthy for our budget when you consider overtime. Part of the reason people move to Torrance is because we are a safe city. We need to ensure that we stay that way. Public safety makes up 60% of our city budget, though, a total of about $140 million between police and fire. So like all city departments, spending needs to be scrutinized. But I'm sorry.
Okay. John?
One thing I've learned in working at different levels of government is that government budgets typically never shrink. They continue to expand. And when I look at any government entity, including the city of Torrance, I think especially now given our reduction in revenue, we have to take a hard look. If we're eliminating positions that are in a current budget but have been left unfilled, then we need to make that adjustment if there's no direct impact on the delivery of public services. If anything, I'm a fan of technology and analytics, and if our police department is using those analytics to determine where the crime incidences are highest, at what time, what particular days of the week, I think we need to be smarter about how we use and allocate these assets. Thank you.
Okay, and Dave Z.
Thank you. Now, I think the prompt of the question was, the budget's going to eliminate 44 police officer employees, and then how are you going to maintain public safety? I think that was the prompt of the question, but I haven't heard a lot of answers about how we're going to maintain it. So, yeah, it's going to be a problem. I spoke to the chief about it. If we eliminate that many positions, we'll be down to 911 response and patrol response alone, right? I've been a DA for 15 years. I've worked here in Torrance. I was assigned in Torrance for 2 years specifically. I also still prosecute cases in Torrance. That makes us less safe. It makes us have less security. So one of the ways to improve that is increasing neighborhood watch, increasing our community emergency response team, because guess what's going to happen? If there's a disaster right now, firefighters aren't going to show up immediately. Police aren't going to show up immediately. It's going to be us looking after each other, at least for a few minutes before they can get there. Also, we only have 100 first responders at any given time on duty for a population that has a city, a daily population of 500,000 people. So what can we do about it? Well, yeah, we have to increase revenue. We've got to find a way of stemming the tide of spending our reserves without earning revenue. So that's one way to fix it.
Thank you. Now we'll go to the next question, and Assam will begin this question. What is your plan to address homelessness in our city?
Thank you. Homelessness is a very complex issue. It's a regional issue, very complex issue. And either you're, unhoused, either you are at the risk of being homelessness, or you are taking the spots in the library and other areas of the city of Torrance. It's very critical. What happens is with Martin versus Boise Act passed, with that, we can enforce anti-camping ordinance. Without the anti-camping ordinance in force, we cannot force homeless people to vacate any of those areas. If we do that, then city is looking at financial liability. We may be liable for lawsuits if we force them out. I think the city council has done a great job in bringing anti-camping ordinance. With that, when we have the anti-camping in place, we can force them to get out or take the shelter, or they have to leave. They have no choice. This is a great step to do that. However, I want to emphasize again, I do not agree with the spot that we have in Torrance. We should locate a different spot. Thank you.
Okay, Jean?
We clearly have a problem with homelessness, and I'm prepared to work on it with both law enforcement and mental health agencies. When we see the homeless on our streets, we sometimes are seeing people who were living in their cars until the cars broke down and were towed. Those people will benefit from the Little Houses program. Often, however, we are seeing our veterans afflicted with PTSD and others suffering from mental illness and alcohol and drug addiction. Jailing these people, including our veterans, does nothing to fix the problem. We definitely want to help get them off the streets. And to do that, we need to find the right assistance and accommodations. The city can and should partner with nonprofit agencies that have developed the expertise to work with the mentally ill. Its contract with Harbor Interfaith is an excellent start. I can help further develop this approach. My more than 35 years of nonprofit involvement with the Volunteer Center and other local agencies have given me an understanding of what it will take.
Thank you, and Aurelio?
Thank you. That's actually an excellent question. June 4th, 2019, I brought to the council the idea of putting together a homeless plan. It took 2.5 years of staff time and meetings and after meetings, trying to figure out who's going to pay for it, how we're going to pay for it, how we're going to maintain it, where we're going to put it. So I really commend everybody. Yeah, we have looked at over 200 locations. It's not a perfect location where we're putting these little houses, but because of the Martin versus Boise case, we had to do something. So we either start putting together a program that actually has some teeth. Anti-camping ordinance is the teeth. But if we don't enforce it, we're just going to end up being just like LA, just failed policies over and over. The sandwich and soap bar approach does not work. You have to get these individuals off our streets. And starting June 26th, we're going to have the anti-camping ordinance fully enforced. Thank you.
Okay, go to Jimmy.
Under my leadership, the Social Services Commission sponsored the city's homeless count, the annual toiletry drive, and called for an increasing the TMET program where Torrance's trained mental evaluation teams respond to calls. This approach begins to create relationship and trust with people. In fact, it takes multiple contacts before they're confident and willing to accept support. We discovered that even though the county houses more people than ever, more and more people still become homeless. And the Pallet Home program is a good start as long as it's accompanied by plans to move towards rapid rehousing and wraparound services. Our work plan includes many of the county strategies for supporting the unhoused. We should participate in regional solutions without giving into frustration and dehumanizing people with citations and warrants for arrest. We can compassionately help people, including our homeless TUSD students, improve their lives, meet their basic needs, and help many of them get off the streets. Thank you.
Okay, David Kay.
Of our tax dollars that Torrance residents pay to address homelessness concerns countywide, this is Measure H. If you own a house, you pay for this. LA County takes $32 million of that, and the city of Torrance gets $5 million back in support. This is completely unfair, obviously, and our residents and our city needs to work to make sure that we get our fair share, and we need to do everything in our power to keep those tax dollars in Torrance, where they will actually make a difference in our neighborhood. The state and county are not doing their parts for us. Our police, 60 to 70% of their calls right now are homeless-related issues. I've personally worked closely with individuals on the front line working for homeless to assist people experiencing homelessness. Organizations like Lifeline and Claire Matrix, two organizations working to address the root causes of homelessness. Also, while I was president of the El Camino College Foundation, we retooled the foundation to support our students in their lives beyond the classroom because of the number of El Camino College students that were experiencing homelessness and food insecurity. However, homelessness does affect the individual and the community, and we need to make sure that we enforce our property decency and public health laws for our residents.
Hey, John?
The city of Torrance has a hard, difficult problem with homelessness, and what it requires is money from both the state and the county. I was happy to see that recently the County Board of Supervisors adopted 2 measures, items 4 and 26 on their agenda. First was to implement the recommendations of the Blue Ribbon Commission on Homelessness, and second, to implement a new framework to end homelessness in Los Angeles County. What that means for Torrance, and of course, Measure H has provided some funds, but I think for us to adequately address the homeless population in our city, we need more financial support from both the state and the county. So I think the county has taken a positive step in that way, and I'm looking forward to cooperating with them in ensuring that we get the funds necessary to take care of our homeless people. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Z.
Thank you. So the Torrance homelessness plan is a sound plan. The problem is it's just at the beginning. So we have to let it work, right? It's like when you're making something, you can't bake a cake and just stop with the flour and the eggs. You got to let it go. And so if there's problems, if we have to reassess, then we reassess as they come. But we have to let the plan take action, and we have to follow it. Now, working with the county and creating a regional response is the right answer. Having Torrance be a leader in this region is the right answer. The county just created a super agency. They just did it to restructure the framework of how we respond to homelessness. That's going to allow us to affect more regional change. We also have to address how we're responding to the people that are unhoused. I mean, there's 4 main causes why they're unhoused: financial, substance abuse, drugs, mental health, or choice. So we have to make sure we're connecting the people to the right resources to actually affect and change their lives for the better. We also have to engage our community. We're not asking residents enough how they want to be involved, what their concerns are, and how we can improve that. So we need an education issue. We need to have more involvement. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll begin the next question with Jane.
Wait, I didn't get to answer that yet? I don't think.
Pardon me?
I didn't answer that yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. That question has been asked over and over again, and they have an anti-camping ordinance in place that I believe is a good one. And we, like others have said, we need to give it a chance to work. But I also need you to understand there are the last count was 322 homeless. Of those, 75 of them are on the streets. The others are, I believe it's couch surfing or living in their car. Part of that solution is we have about 2,000 vacancies in Torrance in our rentals, and they want us to build 5,000 other ones. I think part of that could be where we could have community development or other staff members call the landlords, see if we can come up with not a Section 8 plan, but maybe a plan for 6 months temporary housing in one of those places where we pay up to like $1,500. It'd be a lot cheaper. It's a plan that I'm kind of working on. So I just think get those moms that are living in the car with their kids into a home temporarily. It's a start.
Thank you. Now moving to Jane. What is your position on planned residential development at Del Amo Mall?
Sorry about that. I think the plan for Del Amo, first of all, it's a private property, and I do believe that we need to have potential places for private property to build. I don't think, however, that we're going to actually solve our housing problems with Del Amo. We do have a housing element that the Planning Commission has come up with that identifies 5 places where multiple units could be, and I have no problem with Del Amo being one of them. But I think the real issue here, and I'm hoping you're going to ask us about SB 9 and 10, because to me, the real issue with housing in Torrance is protecting our single-family residences.
Thank you. Aurelio.
I wish you would have asked the question a little differently, a little more in a generic way, just because being that I sit on the council, I don't want to have to recuse myself on any particular project. But generally speaking, again, I'll say generally speaking, I have voted against each and every high-density project in this city. Why? Because traffic is a mess. Traffic is a mess. Okay, until we fix our infrastructure, you know, Hawthorne Boulevard, by the way, we're not allowed to just change the timing of the lights because Hawthorne Boulevard is managed by the state. You know, so we're working on that. But until we fix our infrastructure and the flow, gosh, we got to be careful. I actually do think that Torrance is at capacity. The state doesn't think so. I think so. We're full. Torrance is full. We need to actually maybe expand some of our, 1 minute is just not enough. Thank you.
Okay, moving to Jimmy.
Yes, well, I think that in a big picture, we want to make sure that we're supporting what I would call smart development, which is making sure that in appropriate places we're allowing for mixed use where appropriate, and that it accommodates a cleaner, greener development for the places where we would be building, and we want to make sure that we're doing that in accordance with what the zoning allows.
Okay, David Kay.
I'm not sure this is an entirely fair question for some of us up here. I am a City of Torrance Planning Commissioner, so I really cannot speak on specific items that might be coming before the Commission without potentially making it so I cannot vote on them. So I'm going to speak very generally in terms of development in the city overall. Torrance and the region is facing a housing crisis. Home prices continue to rise. The state is demanding that we increase our density. I have fought for our neighborhoods, and I'll continue to fight for our neighborhoods. Torrance is at a risk, like all the neighbors around us, of being overdeveloped. And I've worked really hard to protect our neighborhoods from overdevelopment. When developers come in and they want to zone bust, which is essentially putting high-density housing where it is not currently zoned, I've always been against that, even for projects in North Torrance. I was one of the members who helped craft our current housing element. It's coming before the Commission again, so if you're interested, come to the Planning Commission at our next meeting. When the state mandated that the City of Torrance add an additional 5,000 housing units to our city, we were tasked with the job of finding where we were going to put those. And it's very important to me that those are not put into our neighborhoods, our single-family residential neighborhoods, because that's where the risk really is. It's better that these be outside of our neighborhoods in medium density and mixed-use properties.
Okay, John.
I'd like to also answer this in a general way. I think there's a connection between the cost of housing and the traffic we see on our streets. For those of us who were lucky enough to buy a house 30, 40 years ago, and you worked in Torrance, you were lucky. But I think for many people who work at our major employers here in the city, they have to drive in from far away because the cost of housing has become unreachable for them. And I know that for Toyota Motor Sales, one big reason why they left was because of the cost of housing. So what I would suggest is that business in Torrance talk to their workforce, because if that workforce lives in Torrance, there will be less cars on the road. They won't be commuting in from miles away. So to me, appropriate housing in appropriate zoned areas makes sense, but I think we need to fine-tune our approach to housing. Thank you.
Okay, David Z.
Thank you. Any development within the city needs to add value to the city. It needs to create some additional value that wasn't there before. So it can't be something where it destroys the quality of the neighborhood, but in a place like Del Amo Mall, where you have multi-unit, it may be something that's appropriate if it adds value to that neighborhood. However, you're gonna have to look at the overall infrastructure cost. So when we're doing developments like that, we're gonna have to look at, is that gonna destroy the roads? Is it gonna increase traffic? Is it gonna cause an additional burden on the infrastructure that's already there, and we're gonna have to improve it? Is it gonna cause a public safety issue? And how we're gonna respond to that in multi-units, given the fact that we may be losing police officers and firefighters. right? So we're going to have to find a way of adding value to our city. As we get younger, as more young families are moving in, we're going to want something that's more walkable. We're going to want something that we can have mixed use, where we have a new restaurant, have a new business, and that's also going to increase revenue for this city. So we have to develop in an intelligent way, in some way that adds value to our city. Thank you.
Lauren?
Hi, thank you. Great question. I also want to make sure that that I'm answering it in a general way, because I don't want a developer to come back into, if I do win, and say that, well, you said you didn't want this project. So I'm just being clear. But I want to ask you, how many of you got this notice that you have to ration your water? I think that should be an answer in itself to build 5,000 new units. And who's going to pay for the police and the fire? Will the developer pay to add a station? Will they pay to add police? We've got to ask that question. We've got to cover our residents first. And what I'd love to see at the Del Amo is a grove, mixed use. People are dying to go out. They want to go have dinner at restaurants. They want to go have entertainment. I'd rather have people stay in our city and spend money here, then we don't have to raise the sales tax, because they'll be here spending money and put something there that's going to make some money instead of cost us money. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Assam?
Thank you. The city of Torrance is known for a balanced city. I moved to the city of Torrance because of the characteristics, because of the nature, because of the atmosphere, the characteristics. And I think that's being challenged with high density. And I would urge everyone to please sign the petition against SB 9. This is important. We all get together. We all need to have neighboring cities to get together and sign the petition against SB 9. High density will bring a lot of issues for the city of Torrance, the traffic, the environment. It is not suitable to change that characteristics. It is important for us to get together and fight against the SB 9, and let's keep that characteristic. Anytime there's a new development project, come to the city council, come to the planning commission, raise your concern known. That's the way we will keep our city as balanced city. The vision that Jared Sidney had, let's keep that vision. We do not want Torrance to turn into New York or San Francisco. Please work together to get this bill repealed. Thank you.
Okay, this is our last question. Everybody did get to speak on that one, right? This is our last question, and it is going to begin with Aurelio. What is your position on the 1/2 cent sales tax measure, SST, that is on the June ballot?
Short answer is no. But just to be a little bit more specific, I personally don't like it because, A, raising taxes shouldn't be a way of balancing a budget. The way you balance a budget is that you take whatever comes in and you work with that. That's how you start. Okay, we shouldn't be operating in the red. That's the basics of it. I also don't like the fact that it's a general fund tax, a tax that will go into the general funds, and depending on who gets elected, will be spent on whatever we want it to be. Okay, that's the other thing. You know, I had proposed that if we are going to put it on the ballot, put it down as a specific tax. Of course, that takes a 2/3 majority to pass. So the long of it is that we'll see what the people say. We do need the money. There's no doubt about that. But I really don't think it's detrimental to tax us even more than we already are in California. You know, thank you.
Okay, move to Jimmy.
We need to vote yes for a safe, strong Torrance. A supporter of local business, my grandfather always said, if you can't find it in Torrance, you don't need it. But the cost of running our city is going up and our revenues are flat. We need to generate new revenue streams and keep our money in Torrance. Now, our current sales tax is 9.5 cents. I, for one, would gladly pay an extra 1/2 cent to help Torrance. And sometimes you already are. If you go buy something at the 99-cent store, the tax is already rounded up to a dime. So it's not like we have that 1/2 cent that is going to make that big of a difference in some cases. And just remember Nobody likes increasing taxes, but our financial situation necessitates this half-cent tax. It won't affect buying food or prescription medicine, but what it will do is generate the money that will help us out in our current situation. But even if the sales tax passes,
Okay, David Kay.
So the outcome of this measure depends on the voters. It does not depend on us beyond the fact that we live in the city of Torrance. So that's important. You need to remember that the people up here are the people who will be putting that money to use, not deciding how you are taxed. If elected to city council, I will do whatever is necessary to ensure the safety and financial stability of Torrance, regardless of whether this passes or not. Bringing us to the verge of municipal bankruptcy is not an option. I'm a business owner in the city of Torrance. I do not support tax increases as a general rule. However, Measure SST is an unfortunate necessity, and there are 3 reasons why I will be voting yes for it. And I do support that it is a general tax because our streets and our parks are important too. It affects all individuals who use our city services, not just our residents, which is important because we have a lot of people come into our city who don't live here. Number 2, the financial situation of our city absolutely requires this. If Measure SST fails, it will be impossible to balance our budget without impacting the lives of our residents. And reason number 3 is I want my tax dollars to go to support local issues rather than LA County or whoever else may pass a sales tax.
Thank you. John?
I'm against the proposed sales tax increase, and here's why. I look at what led us to this point. And what I'd like to do as a council member is to recommend to the council that we ask the state controller to come in and conduct a full and complete audit of City Hall. I think not only for the residents in North Torrance, but for everyone in Torrance, we should have a clear, open, and transparent understanding of the city's finances. Secondly, I look at our tax basis relative to the other surrounding cities. It's a competitive advantage for our car dealers, for our retailers like a Del Amo, for everyone who operates in the city. If we are competitive, we will reach out and attract more business to Torrance and not have to pass a tax. To me, we need to first look at our budget and then move from there. Thank you.
Dave Z.
Thank you. I support the sales tax measure because look at it this way. That money is gone. It's either going to the county or it's staying here with us. So you can choose. You can choose, do you want to be a donor city and give the money to the county, or would you like to keep it here? I'd like to keep it here. I've got kids that are going to go to public schools here. I've got kids that are playing in the parks here and going to the libraries here. I have a family here, and I care about this city. Now, it's $18 million per year is what it can raise. That's a drop in the bucket, but it's a start. It's not going to solve all our financial problems. So yeah, we've got to look at how we got in the situation and why we've been going and spending our reserves since essentially 2008 and bouncing from crisis to crisis without actually raising revenue. So we really have to improve our economic development office. One person doing 20 things at a time to try and raise revenue from business is not enough. We need to increase that. But as for the sales tax measure itself, it's a public safety issue. I'm a public safety person. I've been endorsed by the Police Officers Association and the Firefighter Association. It's also the cost of $150 a year.
Thank you. Lauren?
I am a definite no for the sales tax, and there's several reasons. Currently, all the prices are up. Our gas, our, shopping when we go. Sales tax is proposed to be the #1 income revenue source this year for 2022, next to property tax. And property tax is equal. So we are fine in the aspect of we just need to stop spending money that we don't have. The other issue I wanted to talk about is we got money from the state. The money from COVID, and they got $21 million. But we says we have a deficit of $976. To me, when you get money, you pay your bills, then you put the rest in the savings, which is our reserve. We've got to stop fooling the people of Torrance. You're not stupid. We are not going to cut our police. Our police are fine, and you will be safe. But we need to stop spending more than we bring in.
Assam?
Thank you. I have been walking, knocking, and talking to the different constituents of my district, and this is the most asked question. What's going to happen if it passes, and what's going to happen if it doesn't pass? At this time, what I think is that as a leader, my role is that if this measure passes, I'll make sure the city manager, what he said, that none of this money, the revenue from SST, will not go toward the salary of any of the staff, and I will make them responsible for that. The same thing, if it doesn't pass, I will work with the Economic Development Department to bring revenue. That's how we're gonna balance the budget. This is the constituents, what exactly they want, and I will understand their wishes. I will make sure whatever their wishes are, that have been heard and implemented the proper way. Thank you.
Okay, and finishing up with Jane.
Excuse me. I'm retired. I live on a fixed income. I don't want to pay more taxes. But I will vote for the increase because I want to absolutely make sure that all of that new money stays in Torrance. I want that money spent on city services important to us. The county is primed to propose a tax. They will tell residents of Long Beach, Santa Monica, Pasadena, and other cities that have already raised their sales tax that they should vote for it because they won't be paying for it, because they will not be paying for it. Sorry about that. The money will come from Torrance and other cities like us. I don't want to see our money spread around LA County. While the additional revenue will help us, it will not solve our budget crisis. We still need to totally redo our budget, but it will buy us time. I will use that time to roll up my sleeves. I'm willing to look for where we can cut and consolidate. Thank you.
Okay, now we're going into the closing statements. I know that we didn't get to all of the questions that you wrote. They're excellent questions, but time is time. But at least you had a good chance to hear all of the candidates and get to know them a little better. So we're beginning in the opposite end of the row from the opening statement, and that begins with Aurelio.
Is it 2 minutes now?
I'm sorry, 2 minutes.
Well, thank you guys for coming here tonight. I don't know what's important to you, but I can tell you what's important to me. Then you can make a decision whether that matches what you want. What I want is a city that's safe, a city that I can drive through and feel safe, a city that's clean. Now, I don't know if you guys noticed, my truck had some junk in the back. I do that almost every day. My wife sometimes gets mad at me, but she understands why. Because I want our community to be clean. Now, when a bus shelter becomes a homeless shelter, that affects all of us, whether you take the bus or not. When somebody dumps illegal dumping in an alleyway or in front of somebody's property, that affects all of us. So anything that you see while driving through Torrance or experience while driving through Torrance, it affects all of us. Now you have to make that determination. Who is going to get up in the morning and fight for you? Who's going to jump in their truck and pick up that cart that's been sitting there for 2 weeks, even though it's been reported 6 times? Now you might say, well, I'm not electing a trash man, I'm electing a councilman. Well, guess what? As a councilman, I like to lead by example. I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I think I might even have cut my hand this morning on one of those carts. But I don't care. That's what we have to do. All of us, not just me, all of us, we have to take responsibility for our community. We have to clean up. Because with cleanliness comes safety. It's all connected, believe it or not. When that building goes vacant and there's graffiti on it and weeds growing out of it, oh, gosh, 2 minutes go by so quick. Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Jean.
You're going back
Coming
this way.
straight down
Sorry.
the row.
My thanks to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring tonight's forum, and I especially want to thank all of you, both sitting here and watching us on YouTube. You wanted to make sure that you were choosing your candidates wisely, so thank you for that. As many of you know, I never had political ambitions. Many children grow up wanting to be the president. I wanted to interview the president. So I went into journalism because I enjoy hearing people's stories. For this campaign, I have rung many doorbells and listened to voters express their frustrations with government. I'm hearing unhappiness with budget practices that got the city onto the state's watch list 2 years ago, and I'm hearing people sounding their concerns about the council's political divisiveness. District 5 has many older residents. My walking list show they have voted in each of the last 5 elections. They remember Jim Armstrong and Katie Geisert and want to see a return to the day when Democrats and Republicans put aside partisanship for the good of the city. For more than 35 years, I have worked on civic projects that have involved people from across the political spectrum. These are the people who are endorsing me. They are people active in Torrance, not elsewhere. They know that I work well with those whose opinions differ from mine. I want to do that for the City Council. Let's return to the spirit of Democrat Jim Armstrong and working with Republican Katie Geisert. In their City Council roles, they weren't pushing red or blue agendas. They were purple through and through. I believe in the power of purple, and I want to see its return. We need to start with the areas where we agree and then build on that. I have a history of building consensus out of contentiousness, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Assam.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing this event. I personally want to thank you all for coming here. In addition to that, I have never done that in my previous forums. I want to thank my family. They have been knocking, they have been walking with me and answering all the questions on my behalf. Why are they doing that? Because they trust in me. They believe in me. And I want you to look at my previous experiences, my professional experience, my community service experience of decades, and trust in me. I wanted to earn your trust. Give me a chance, I will make a difference. This may be the last forum, but this is not the end. For the next 4 or 5 weeks, I will have meet with Assam, coffee with Assam. In fact, I just came up with an idea. Let's have a vanilla shake with Assam Sheikh. Let's have chocolate shake with Assam Sheikh. Come and talk to me. There are lots of questions that you have in your mind. You may not answer, we have not probably didn't answer your questions. Come and talk to me, get engaged. I will try my best to give you the honest answer that I believe in. But my answer will be based on responses from you. Please get engaged. Please talk to me. And I will give you honest opinion, exactly what I'm doing in Planning Commission. That's exactly what I did in Civil Service Commission. That's exactly what I have done in Library Commission. I have a proven record. The most important thing right now, there's no honeymoon period left anymore. We need to work together. We need to have somebody who knows the finance. 50 million reserve at one point in the city of Torrance, and at this point, and without the assistance for our government, American Recovery Act, we have only $600,000 left. It's not a game to blame. It's time to act and have someone who has the experience, who has the knowledge. And please work with me and I will work with you. And come and let's have a shake with Assam Sheikh.
He got that idea from me, by the way.
Thank you. Lauren.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for hosting this event. I finally got it down by the third one. I wanted to let you know I was everybody talked about who they were endorsed by. I'm endorsed by 2 sitting council members, George Chin and Aurelio Matucci. And the other endorsements are basically residents of Torrance. No other big names. I do have some, AD 66 has also endorsed me. That's it. But if I have the honor to be your next city councilwoman, I promise you, I will work with the council. You have to remember that it's 4 votes or more to get anything passed. It's not just one. So Sharon, that will be on the council. We have 3 others that we have to work, 2 others that we have to work with. We have to work together to make things happen, or it's going to be constantly not happening. So if you like a candidate, vote for the one that is similar, that you know will things get passed. Also, I wanted to remind you that SB 9, as he's mentioned, is terrible for Torrance, but not because they're building 5,000 units. That's RENA, that's separate. SB 9 divides your property into 2, and it's no longer single-family homes. It's somebody could put 2 units in the back without parking. Do not let that happen. If you see I've got ballots, petitions out there, and to repeal the death tax. That is dangerous for all of us. So finally, I want to tell you my wish for Torrance is to make it a destination, not a pass-through city. This would bring more revenue to the city as families would spend more money here. We could have the Grove, we could have entertainment. People are dying to do things. We have a Wilson Park that we could do concerts in the park and have companies host it. I'm actually working on doing that with a group right now. I think we need to get out and do things and spend money in our city instead of going somewhere else. Thank you very much. And remember, your first choice is not the first one on the thing. It's Lauren Cotner for District 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave Z.
Again, my name is Dave Zygielbaum. I'm running to represent North Torrance on the City Council. Thank you so much for having me tonight, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. Thank you all for showing up. We've focused a lot on the negative tonight. I've been a district attorney for 15 years. I work in the negative, and it's emotionally hard, but one of the things that gets me through is the fact that almost every single one of my cases over a decade and a half has had a good Samaritan, somebody who stepped up and helped in a time of crisis. I've seen people stop murder. I've seen people stop rape and domestic violence. Like a stranger in a movie, they see something happening, they jump in and they help. Right now, our city might be in a time of crisis. Let that be a call to action. Step up for your community. Work. Get involved. It's not about any of us up here. We're just a few people. Only a few of us are going to be on city council. You are the community. You can help. I want to work on public safety. I want to improve it by bolstering our neighborhood watch so we're all good neighbors. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm a neighbor before I'm anything else. I'm going to take care of my neighborhood. I'm going to respond when people are in crisis. You can too. So let's bolster Neighborhood Watch. Let's bolster our community emergency response team so we're all prepared to do that. Let's respond to homelessness, which is a problem in our city. But we can let this be the foundation from which we build. We can build the city of our future that's better for our children. I don't want my grandchildren answering the same questions that I'm asking right now in 100 years. I don't think you do either. So let's step up and work. Let's respond to homelessness in a compassionate way with a regional answer. Let's develop our economy so we can stop bleeding our reserves and sitting in this situation where we have to argue over whether or not we need $18 million. We do, by the way. We're in that situation where we have to have it. I wish we weren't, but we are. Let this be a call to action. Build the city of the future with me. Step up and help. Let's grow this city together and make it the place that we want it to be for all of our future generations. Thank you. I hope I can earn your trust and your vote.
Thank you. John.
Thanks to the League of Women Voters and to the many Torrance residents watching tonight. As I've gone around and met residents in North Torrance and they've asked me, how old are you? I've told them, well, I am the oldest person running, but like I shared with one fellow today, there may be snow on the roof, but there's fire in the belly. Having been here in Torrance for a long time, as I've said before, North Torrance needs to receive its fair share. And we can only understand how much that means if we break down each city department and find out exactly how much money is allocated for North Torrance. That's one of the first things I like to do. Secondly, looking at the AES power plant in Redondo Beach and all those iconic transmission wires that stretch into North Torrance, there's 93 acres under those wires. AES is scheduled to be decommissioned later this year. I want to know how we in North Torrance can best utilize all that land to benefit the residents and visitors. As I've said before, I'm going to advocate for a full and complete audit of City Hall so we know exactly how our money has been spent. I will also advocate for the creation of a Torrance police substation in North Torrance in order to send the criminal element a clear message: do not come to Torrance. Lastly, back on April 1st, 2022, the University of Southern California issued an apology and honorary posthumous degrees to more than 120 of its former Japanese American students. After Pearl Harbor, the community was evacuated to internment camps. The students at USC were unable to complete their education because USC withheld their academic transcripts. After a 10-year battle, 15-year battle with the university, we finally won that fight. I will apply the same level of tenacity to Torrance.
Thank you. And David Kay.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters. Even with the video, people who will see this are a fraction of the voters. So please make sure that you talk to your neighbors and your friends. Please make sure that all of the city's residents and voters are as educated as you are. I'm truly invested in our community, and that's been demonstrated by my service. I didn't just move here or get started to fuel my political aspirations. As I said in the beginning, I'm a strong supporter of local education institutions. As a planning commissioner, I've been a strong defender of our neighborhoods, preventing overdevelopment by developers. I've served as a watchdog for taxpayers on the El Camino College Bond Oversight Committee, and I ensured nearly $700 million in property tax bonds were spent appropriately. On the City of Torrance Parks and Recreation Commission, we fought to make sure our parks stayed open during the pandemic. We ensured access for our little leagues in pickleball and tennis. We oversaw the senior and low-income home improvement programs, strongly supported the Japanese American internment wall in Columbia Park, brought more recycled water to our parks, which is cheaper and more environmentally friendly. And I'm very proud of having brought the motion to bring the air quality monitor to Gunzer Park, ensuring the quality of our air in Northeast Torrance. On the City of Torrance Planning Commission, we've already worked to bring many new businesses to North Torrance, from restaurants to major corporate headquarters. And I'll continue to do this as councilman. I'll fight to ensure that North Torrance gets its fair share of street repairs and work to institute a dig once policy to keep our streets from being constantly dug up. Years ago, I brought the idea to the city manager to repurpose the power line properties, and I'm excited to see that come into fruition. I truly care about serving our community, and that's why all the work I've done has prepared me so well to now serve on your city council. I know how to listen to our residents and work with my fellow council people. I have a good relationship with all the candidates in the other districts. I'm endorsed by former Mayor Frank Scotto and former Assemblyman George Nakano, nonpartisan and local. I'm David Kartsonis, and if actions speak louder than words to you, I hope I have earned your support and your vote. Please visit my site to learn more about me, www.davidfortorrance.com. Sunday is Mother's Day, and my mother always taught me that actions speak louder than words. I have faith that the voters will see that the best candidate for Torrance City Council isn't the one who can make the most promises.
Please finish your sentence.
Or isn't the one that can make the most promises or spend the most money. It's the one that's already done the most for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Jimmy, you're finishing up for us.
Thank you. And thanks to the Torrance Area League of Women Voters for hosting us, and thanks to all of you for coming out. I'm Jimmy Gow, and I'm running because the people of North Torrance tell me they're tired of being ignored. As your council member, I will give our community the attention it deserves. As I said, I'm a problem solver. I helped save the city millions by creating the final approved council district map. And this is the first time we'll use that map to elect a council member for District 1. We should pick someone who will stand up for our district. Like in 2020, during the pandemic, before vaccines were available, I called upon the council to allow a ballot drop box in all 6 council districts, but they didn't listen. I believe voters in Torrance deserve better. And it's because of my efforts on behalf of Torrance voters that my campaign is endorsed by our local elected leaders who represent North Torrance on federal, state, and county levels, including Supervisor Janice Hahn, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, and our Assembly member, Al Matucci. And I will work with them to increase public safety and secure the resources we need, because I believe government should be accessible and responsive. So let's create new revenue streams to improve our economy, make city services accessible and easier to access, and improve public spaces and have smarter development for a cleaner, greener environment. A vote for Jimmy Gow is a vote to give North Torrance the attention it deserves. Let's bring balance back to the City Council with Jimmy Gow in District 1. And I'm here to listen and serve. Go to my website, jimmygowfortorrance.com, and let me know that I can count on your vote. Go to my social media, leave me a comment, find my phone number or email on my website, and let me know if you have any questions or if there's any issues you want to discuss, and I would be glad to talk to you. Thank you.
So I think now we can definitely applaud all these people who work so hard. So briefly, I want to thank Nancy Marr, who did a terrific job, even though she had a little bit of a situation. It was fine. And the lady that was sitting here, Monica, put this all together. She's our voter service chair, and that takes a lot of work to coordinate all of this. So I want to thank you again on behalf of the League of Women Voters, and now we're going to have the meet and greet with candidates outside the room. Thank you very much for attending.